This video is sponsored by Insta360. Filming videos for YouTube can be really overwhelming at times. And I remember as a beginner, there were so many different things that I had to learn about. Whether it was the quality of the video, the audio, the editing, there was so much that I just didn't know a lot about. And I found it really overwhelming to actually know how to kind of step it up a little bit more with my YouTube videos. But with all of my experience from posting to YouTube for the last 10 years or so, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a few different ways that you can take your YouTube videos to the next level and ensure that you're getting the most quality possible out of them. So for those of you who are new here, my name is Kaylee and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia. However, I'm also a content creator and I started this channel a few years ago to talk about all things content creation, business, social media, and freelancing. Having said that, I have been running my own photography channel for the last 10 years or so on YouTube, so I definitely feel that I've learned a lot when it comes to creating YouTube videos. And as I mentioned, in today's video, we're going to go through some of those things that you might be struggling with and some of the things that might help you actually take your videos to that next level. Even if you're a total beginner, this video can still help you out and get you on the right track to producing the best quality YouTube videos possible. So we're going to get straight into the video now. Let's get into it. So the first point that we're going to cover today is by far one of the most important points. Even though you'll probably think it's not that big of a deal, I really do think that when it comes to your settings and your camera settings in particular for filming your YouTube videos, this is one thing that you really need to get right in the beginning. And I totally get it. It's actually really difficult to learn about frame rates and to learn about dimensions and all the rest of it. Even as someone who was a photographer getting into filming video, I felt that the jump there was very, very different. And I think a lot of people just assume because you do photography that you can also do videography. And that's not the case. And it definitely wasn't the case for me. I didn't know a lot about video. So for me, frame rates and things like that were really confusing for a long time. But the good thing is when you're first starting out and when you're really just looking to get that extra level of quality to your videos, we don't really need to go too deep into it. You just need to know a couple of the basics to make sure you're filming in the best settings possible. So really as an absolute minimum for YouTube these days, you should be filming in 1080p, which is high definition. And that's going to give you a really good quality video that you can post to YouTube. Now, most devices and smartphones should be able to film in 1080p, if not the majority of them these days, and for the last 10 years or so. So I wouldn't worry too much about whether your device films in 1080p or not, because most of them will. You should also be filming at 30 frames per second as a minimum, and that would be alongside 1080p. And we'll talk a little bit more about frames per second in just a minute and what the difference is between 30 and 60 frames per second. But in terms of your minimum settings, 1080p at 30 frames per second should be your minimum for YouTube. Having said that, if you want to take your work a little bit more to the next level and you want a little bit more freedom with the footage that you're actually capturing, I would highly recommend shooting in 4K at 60 frames per second. Now, 4K is really another step up from HD, so it's really going to be a much larger dimension of video that you'll be filming and you'll be capturing, and that's going to give you a little bit more room for movement and room for error when you're actually editing the captured footage. So because you're capturing a much larger dimension of footage, you'll actually be able to crop in a little bit more when you're editing later on, and you'll still have that high resolution footage. Whereas if you were to crop in on 1080p footage, you'd be starting to see the footage getting a little bit fuzzy and a little bit lower quality. It would definitely be noticeable if you were to crop in on 1080p footage. If you're cropping in a little bit more in on 4K, it's going to take a little bit longer for you to actually see that quality difference, and you'd really have to crop in quite close to see that. If you want to have a little bit more versatility with your editing, this is why I tend to shoot in 4K more often than not these days, because it's really just giving me that little bit more room for error too. So if I do make a mistake with the framing, I can always crop in a little bit later on. Now we're going to quickly talk about frame rates to go along with 4K. So you can either film in 4K at 30 frames per second, or you can film in 4K at 60 frames per second. Now again, this can give you a little bit more versatility when you're editing your footage. If you like to capture slow motion shots, then really shooting at 60 frames per second should be your minimum. Now watching a video at 60 frames per second is going to feel a lot more lifelike because there's a lot more information that has been captured and a lot more frames that have been captured per second. It's basically double the amount from 30, so you're going to see the footage become a lot more smooth overall. But having 30 frames per second footage on YouTube is completely fine, and in fact, I actually render most of my videos out at 30 frames per second. I only shoot in 60 frames per second these days because I just get that little bit more versatility when I want to edit my shots later. For example, if I want to slow down my shots and half the speed of the shots down from 60 frames, then I can easily do so and the footage is going to look smooth and really seamless. And that's really the main reason that I tend to shoot in 60 frames these days. So there's really an option for you if you want to sort of take those shots to the next level. You want a bit more slow motion or you want a bit more more versatility with your shots in terms of the quality, I'd highly recommend shooting or trying to shoot at 4K at 60 frames. Having said that, not every device is going to have this capability, though more and more these days, a lot of devices do have that capability, but sometimes depending on the smartphone you have or depending on the camera you have, it may not have that capability. So just keep that in mind. And if it doesn't, 1080p at 30 frames is completely fine too. You might even find that there's an option for 1080p at 60 frames per second. So if you want those slow-mo shots that I was talking about before, you still might be able to get those with the device that you currently have. So that's really going to be the bulk of the settings that we're going to get into today. They're really just the very basic settings of filming videos for YouTube, and there's a lot more videos out there that will explain lots of different settings to do with cameras and filming in general better than I can explain it. But from my point of view as a content creator, these are really the two settings that you should be focusing on. And then the next thing that I'd recommend if you're looking to take your YouTube videos to the next level would be to get a gimbal. And that also brings me to today's video sponsor, Insta360 Flow. So Insta360 were really kind enough to recently send me the Insta360 Flow, which is their gimbal device that you can actually use with your smartphone. Now, I'm already pretty obsessed with this gimbal because I've used a couple before that have been a little bit cheaper and they just haven't had the same effect as this particular gimbal. The Flow is actually jam-packed with features, and this is really going to take your YouTube videos to the next level, especially if you're looking at doing more action shots, you need a little bit more stabilization, more of a tracking function with your shots. This is a really great type of device to invest in. So gimbals can be really great for any type of content creation, and especially the Flow. It will provide you with a lot more stabilization with your shots, particularly if you're shooting on your smartphone, and it's going to give you that level of confidence regardless of whether you're shooting for YouTube or you're shooting for Instagram, TikTok, whatever your content creation is, it will give you that level of confidence that your videos are going to be smooth and stabilized. The subject tracking that the Flow uses as well will actually allow your subjects to always stay in frame, which is something that can be really frustrating if you're doing more action type shots and you need something to be tracked. But unfortunately, with using handheld, this can be really difficult to do. So having a gimbal like Flow will really help with the process with that, along with keeping the subject in focus. And here's a few more features that the Insta360 Flow provides. The Flow has a built-in selfie stick, making it easier for you to shoot from higher or lower angles. It also has a built-in tripod, which is really a must for every content creator. So this device is not just for filming YouTube videos, you can also double press the rotate button to rotate your phone for vertical content too. It also has 12 hours of performance battery, and you even have a built-in cold shoe for microphones. The Insta360 is super compact and folds up easily. And with the Insta360 app, you'll have access to features such as time shift, motion time-lapse, barrel roll, dolly zoom, and widescreen mode. And one of the best and most unique features of this gimbal is the AI tracking along with hand gesture control. All I have to do is show the camera the palm of my hand, and the recording begins along with AI tracking to make sure I always stay in frame. So if you're interested in learning more about the Insta360 Flow, make sure to click on the link in the description box below for more info. Now let's move on to audio, because I know that this was something that I really struggled with when I first started doing content creation many years ago. So sometimes in the beginning as a content creator, you can really struggle to realize the differences between audio and actually see how much of a difference it makes in your videos. And audio can be really, really determining as to whether someone may watch it or not. I would say that this doesn't happen all the time, and more so I think I experienced this because I was in more of a techie field, being in a photography niche. So for you, if you do lifestyle, fashion, that kind of thing, you might find that a lot of your audience are a lot more easier when it comes to that kind of stuff in terms of audio. But for me, it became almost a bit of a meme as a photographer, like that my audio was so terrible when I first started out. Like the amount of comments I got from people being like, my left ear enjoyed that, like on a daily basis. I'm talking daily basis. So it actually eventually pushed me to look into audio options for my channel, because I was like, okay, clearly there are people out there that can't stand listening to bad audio. Now, I don't think that you should necessarily change everything up just because someone says something on your channel or someone's getting annoyed at something that you're doing. I don't always think that that's the right way to go. However, I will say if you do want to kind of lift your videos to the next level and have that nice kind of audio, or even just a slight step up from just in-camera audio, these are some of the things that you can look at, and these are some of the microphones that you can look at potentially purchasing. So first off, I'm going to talk about a really basic microphone that is very inexpensive overall, and it's one that I've found has worked really, really well for lots of different things that I've done over the years. But the first mic we're going to talk about is a shotgun mic. So this is a very small shotgun mic, and this actually sits on top of a camera. So it slides into the hot shoe, and you've got this thing called a dead cat on the top, which essentially protects the microphone and the sound from wind and things like that when you're outside. But essentially once this is off, this is what this particular one looks like. This is the Rode Video Micro. It's extremely small, it's lightweight, and it's inexpensive, which is why I bought it. I think that shotgun mics in particular are really, really good for vlogging because you don't have anything externally that you have to be worrying about. They're really good for on-the-go footage because you can just slide it onto your camera and it's kind of like an all-in-one then. The audio will automatically get recorded to the footage in your camera. So I really like this one, as I mentioned, because it is inexpensive and it's great for beginners. It's really easy to use. The only caveat with this one is that you do need to be a little bit closer to the camera for the microphone to pick up the sound. So this is one thing I have struggled with in the past. Sitting here talking to the camera like this with this on the top might not even be a good idea really in this setting because I am quite far from the camera. And as you can see, I've got another microphone that's quite close to me. So maybe if it was a larger shotgun mic, that would be okay. But for this particular one being quite mini, this is perfect for vlogging and being out and about on a smaller camera with a little hot shoe attachment. So highly recommend this one for beginners. And just to mention, shotgun mics come in all different sizes and shapes and price ranges. So there's definitely a lot out there. But if you're a beginner, this is something that you could definitely look at. The next type of microphone that I have, which is good for content creation as well that you could utilize, is a lav mic. So this is the one that I'm currently using, which the brand is Rode again. And this is just one of the lav kits that's really easy to take with you on the go. Again, it's really small, lightweight, easy to use. With the lav mics, you have the receiver, which actually again sits in the hot shoe on top of your camera. It slides in the top, and then this actually plugs into the camera directly. So again, the audio is being recorded into your camera, and you've got kind of an all-in-one system going there. There's no external audio that you need to record. And then you actually have the microphone. So this is just the little dead cat that kind of sits on top. You can just, that's a little magnet and actually just sits on top of the microphone there, just in the middle of it. And then this actually has a clip as well, so that will sit virtually just very high up on a person's shirt or whatever you're wearing, and then you can speak into it. So this is really good again for on-the-go stuff. If you're interviewing people out in the streets, it gives you a lot more room to move if you're out and about with your videos and your content. And I definitely recommend having one of these microphones on standby. The good thing is as well as they do tend to block out a little bit more ambient noise because they're so close to the person's mouth. You'll be hearing their voice a lot more clearly and a lot less of the background noise that may be going on at any given time, especially if you're filming in a city or somewhere where it's busy. These are really, really good to have. Now you can get cheaper lav mics out there. This one is a little bit more premium, so you would be spending a little bit more for this particular brand and this particular kit. However, I have to admit that this has been really helpful over the years having this kit, and I do highly recommend it because the sound is really great. So if you're looking for more of an intermediate mic to upgrade to, this is a really good one for a lav mic. However, there are definitely cheaper brands out there. And I haven't mentioned this just yet, but you can integrate some of these mics that I've spoken about with your phone, but there are also other microphones out there that you can get for your phone if you're using your phone to record your videos. And then the last mic I'm actually going to be talking about today is the desk mic. So this is the one that I'm currently using at the moment. It's a little bit more inflexible in that I can't really take it outside and take it with me on the go when I'm sort of moving around doing videos. But for videos like this where it's sitting right in front of me, it's absolutely perfect, and I record the sound separately to my camera footage. I do tend to find that this is some of the best audio out there because it is a bit more stationary and it's a bit of a bigger device too, so it does tend to record the audio quite well. This is just the Blue Yeti that I'm using at the moment, which a lot of content creators have used over the years. There's so many USB desk mics though that you can get, and this essentially just plugs into my computer, and I'm recording the sound currently as I'm also filming as well, so I can match up the audio and the video later on. I really love the sound that the Blue Yeti actually produces, and again, it's not too high-end in terms of costing either. You can usually get one for a reasonable price online, and I do recommend it because it is a good investment and they're very versatile. So you can also use this kind of audio for screen recordings as well, which is really good if you do a lot of screen recordings. And this is the type of microphone that can be easily put on your desk and recorded along with the footage. So the next way to start taking your YouTube videos to the next level and getting that little bit more quality out of them is to start utilizing professional editing software. So this can either be something like Adobe Premiere Pro, or it can be Final Cut Pro, or it can even be DaVinci Resolve, which is one that I highly recommend as there is a free free version, and there's not too many free versions of editing programs out there, especially really, really good editing programs like DaVinci. So if you're a little bit on a budget at the moment and you don't want to spend too much when it comes to an editing program, I highly recommend DaVinci Resolve, and they really do have some of the best color grading options as well. So really focusing on color grading would be something that I'd really recommend with these types of platforms, and it's something that really makes a very visible difference to your videos. It's something that originally when I started filming videos, I didn't really notice the difference much, and I wasn't paying attention to color grading my videos at all. But it's funny, even coming from a photography background, how I even know that color grading will make such a world of difference when it comes to an ungraded image versus a color graded image. So it's the same with video. You're gonna find that the colors tend to stand out more, there tends to be a bit more contrast, it doesn't look as flat anymore. Definitely taking some of these things into consideration a bit more will help to make your videos look a lot more aesthetically pleasing overall and to the viewer. So I do recommend, if you haven't started color grading or adjusting exposure in your footage, definitely make sure you do so for any future YouTube videos, because it will actually make a very visual difference. And for the last point, I'm just going to quickly talk about a screen recording software that you can use, because I know for a lot of you, depending on what niche you're in, you might be wanting to do a lot more screen recording, and that does tend to be a big part of a lot of YouTube videos. So I actually use a screen recording software called OBS. It's completely free, and I use it to do all of my screen recording. And it really does allow you to have a high quality screen record, which is why I like it. There's no watermarking, there's no hidden subscriptions that you have to use the free version or anything like that. I've been using it for years, and I find that it does a really good high quality job of capturing screen recording. So I highly recommend, if you're looking at getting into doing more screen records, that using OBS is a really good option for that, and it will help to kind of keep that quality within your videos as well. So I hope you really enjoyed this video today, and I hope that you found it helpful. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure you do, because I'll be posting a lot more videos like this one. Let me know in the comments as well if you'd like to see more videos like this one, because I haven't done too many techie videos on my channel yet, but if you'd like to see more videos when it comes to content creation and stuff that you can be utilizing with content creation, I'd be happy to do more videos on that. And also let me know in the comments whether you use or do any of the things that I've talked about in this video, or if you have any questions in particular. If you're interested in checking out the Insta360 Flow, once again, the link is in the description box below, so make sure you go and click on that if you want more information. But thank you so much as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.